Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. If you missed my episode last week, I went over all 32 NFL starting quarterbacks, or either I should say, rather, predicting all 32 NFL starting quarterbacks for 2024. That was really a good time, and thank you for supporting that. It's one of my highest viewed podcast episodes or just videos in general on this around the Slice YouTube channel. So can't thank you enough. But we are fully in free agency mode. We're going to get entrenched, if you will, into the free agents. And I kind of want to go over the next couple weeks or so before we officially hit when players can verbally commit to contracts on March 11th, starting Monday, March 11th. And then they can officially sign those contracts on Wednesday, March 13th, if the new league year starting on that day. Coinciding with that as well, I want to go over kind of primers, primers for different positions. A quarterback primer, a running back primer, a wide receiver primer. I'm not going to have tight end. It's not a very attractive market and players available, but follow me on Twitter, AA Wankin at 13, if you kind of want to see that. But we are going to go over today the 2024 NFL offseason quarterback primer to kick us off. Obviously, the most position in the NFL, and honestly, the most important position in all of pro sports probably is the command of the football field, the NFL quarterback. I was going to say 2024 NFL quarterback free agency preview, but then I realized I was kind of writing up my notes here and charting all this out that it's not just free agency. We're going to talk about trade markets for quarterbacks, intriguing backups, big time starters. I have 6 different categories: big time starters, intriguing backups, different draft tiers, like I said, trade market, all that. It's not just for agency, and this is ever evolving. This is the initial skeleton, if you will, as we stand right now, heading into that March 11th kind of like exciting date, if you will, where players can verbally commit to contracts. So without further ado, let's get into it. By the way, I'm going to be spitting out and throwing out a lot of numbers, so I just want to get a few things out of the way. Say I predict a guy will sign like a 2-year, like $8 million deal with $4 million AAV. It's pretty straightforward. For those of you who don't know, AAV means average annual value. 8 divided by 2 obviously is 4, so their AAV is 4. They get $4 million per year. Okay, next, the numbers I do throw out, I will be accompanying the quarterbacks in any player. Well, it's just quarterbacks. So I will be accompanying the quarterbacks when I say they're projected this AAV, again, average annual value on Spot Track. The great cap site, Mike Giannetti, all of those guys over there do a fantastic job. So credit them for all this information every year with the deep dive. But that is where I get this. I'm not going to say according to Spot Track, because I tell you guys right now, this is all according to Spot Track. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let's just jump into it. Now, I want to provide some context here. 2 quarterback contracts that really heavily impacted the market in, I think, a negative way. I don't think this helped the market. Well, okay. It helped it for the player. This is kind of complicated. It helped it for the, how should I phrase this and word this? It helped it for the players, but it kind of hurt it for the teams. It kind of screwed over owners and the baseline of some of these contracts. But 2 contracts that, no matter how you look at it, bottom line is heavily impacted the market. We'll go in order of 2 different off seasons in a row. First, Deshaun Watson signed a 5-year, whopping $230 million contract with the Browns in 2022, fully guaranteed $46 million AAV. Again, it's the only time I'm going to say this one last time. AAV, average annual value, 230 divided by 5, simple math, calculator, whatever, is 46. 46 AAV, that's overpay enough, but that's not really the part I want to talk about here. The part I want to talk about here is fully guaranteed. When Deshaun Watson signed this, he chose to sit out in the 2021 season. He wasn't, he wasn't suspended by the NFL after his 25, 26 different lawsuits by 25 or 26 different women for the whole thing. I don't need to go into that again. Get all like political here and whatnot. But bottom line is they were kind of foolish, not kind of, really, really foolish. Jimmy Haslam, D. Haslam, the whole Haslam family and ownership really kind of screwed the rest of the NFL because they're looking at Deshaun Watson. Well, how stupid are you? You just gave a guy that has 26 lawsuits fully guaranteed money, every single penny, no matter if he gets injured, no matter if he hadn't played football ever again after that, no matter if he gets suspended more, which he did for 12 games, which I didn't think was enough at the time. I still don't think it's enough looking back. And then he got injured this year, but it doesn't matter because every penny of that 5-year, $230 million, again, $46 million AAV, was kind of, kind of stupid in my opinion. Like I just said, I mean, guy coming up 26 different civil lawsuits. I know there were no criminal charges, but still, like, and then another. So that kind of impacted the top. Just one last thing before I get to the next one. That impacted the top of the quarterback market because if Deshaun Watson is getting 46 AAV, you have guys like Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes now getting 50 to 55 AAV at the minimum. I mean, that was the minimum for those guys. So impacted the top of the QB market. But this next contract I'm going to bring up, we're diving into specific players and whatnot for this offseason, it is Daniel Jones signed a 4-year, $160 million contract with the Giants in 2023. $40 million AAV. This is just ridiculous, okay? And I know why the Giants signed him. I'm going to say this, and if you do agree, disagree, whatever. Brian Daboll and the Giants front office panicked. They overreacted to his one career year. I use air quotes on career year because in 2022, Daniel Jones, yes, he has career high in passing touchdowns. Guys, it was 15 touchdowns. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, two top two quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, whatever order, I really don't care. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes threw 15 passing touchdowns in 4 or 5 games, and let alone Daniel Jones threw it in 17 games that year. It didn't miss a single game. So yeah, 17. I think it's overreactionary, and I don't know. They probably should have franchise tagged Daniel Jones that year and extended Saquon Barkley like he wanted. But they kind of reversed it. Instead, tagged Barkley and signed Daniel Jones. Once again, 4-year, $160 million, $40 million AAV. And the reason this heavily impacted the market is because there's no middle ground anymore. There's no like 30 or 35 million anymore. If Daniel Jones is at least getting 40 million, Justin Fields, with his future up in the air now, is going to want at least minimum 40. Kirk Cousins coming off Achilles tear, still going to want at least minimum 40, which whether players deserve it or not deserve it, bottom line is this: there's no middle ground anymore. There's no second tier, that next middle tier quarterbacks below the top guys we mentioned with Deshaun Watson getting overpaid. Daniel Jones impacted that market. So these two contracts, Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones, like I just explained, Deshaun Watson impacted the very top of the QB market and kind of impacted and made other owners upset. And then Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, however you say it, excuse me, Shane, however you say it, it really impacted that second tier / middle tier, that next tier quarterbacks, however you want to look at it. There's no middle ground anymore because everyone is going to look at Daniel Jones and say, well, I'm better than Daniel Jones, if not way better, and I want at least 40 million because that's what he got. So I don't know. It's just kind of overreaction by the Giants front office. So those are 2 contracts I wanted to point to here to provide some context going into the offseason. The last 2 offseasons, they've impact, well, really 3. This going in the third one with Deshaun Watson in 2022 and Daniel Jones in 2023. And I fear that Baker could get overpaid based off the 1 year. Tua could get overpaid with the extension going into his contract year, 5th-year option year, but we'll get to that later. Now, free agent QBs. I have 6 different categories here, all the way from starters to backups and whatnot. I'm not going to go through them now. I don't want to spoil it. You'll just hear as it go. Big-time starters, this should be obvious, but there's only 2 here. Kirk Cousins, 35. He is 30. Now, this is the age currently right now. Kirk Cousins, 35 years old. He has a projected AAV of $39.3 million on Spot Track. Listen, that's right around the minimum. I say he gets on the low end 38. Maybe you want to take above that. I'll say he gets 38 to 41, 42 per year. 42 would be in the really high end. I think Minnesota has the leverage here. I don't think they have to overpay for Cousins if they don't want to, because it's clear that Kirk Cousins wants to stay in Minnesota. He didn't waive his no trade clause at the deadline because he would have to approve of a trade, and he wants to be a Minnesota Viking. I mean, he loves routine. You saw, like I said this last week, the starting quarterback predictions, which, spoiler alert, I had Kirk Cousins as my week 1 starter. They could still draft a rookie, but I wanted that more last week. But yeah, I mean, 39.3, 38 to 40 million a year AAV. Stats right on point with that. Landing spot for Cousins. If it's worth noting a landing spot, I do have it. So landing spot for Cousins. If not, key thing here, phrase. If not back to Minnesota, the Falcons. You look at, now this might be kind of going down the rabbit hole here, but just follow the rope here. Stay with me. So Zach Robinson is there now. He was the Rams passing game coordinator, and he now is the Falcons offensive coordinator. And you look at what those Rams guys, Rams and Lions staff, some of the Rams staff on the Lions, so on and so forth. The Rams staff, they had Jared Goff, they have Matthew Stafford. Now the Lions have Jared Goff. That staff, that McVay tree, if you will, wants guys that are pure pocket passes. Granted, they're not very mobile, but they're very accurate and pure pocket passers, very poised in the pocket. Jared Goff is that. Matthew Stafford is that. And now Kirk Cousins will be that if he goes to Falcons. In my opinion, it's back to Minnesota or to Atlanta with the Falcons. I don't really see any other scenario there other than that. Now going with Baker Mayfield, 28 years old, my second and final big-time starter category guy. Baker Mayfield, currently 28 years old. He is a projected AAV of 27.1 million on Spot Track. I was nervous going into the offseason, and especially when the season ended for the Bucs against the Lions in the NFC divisional round game. I was really nervous. Excuse me. I was really nervous that the Buccaneers or whatever were going to overpay for Baker Mayfield just based off of 1 year. Now, I'm going to say this. I know people don't really agree with this because I've talked to people who don't agree with this. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, still a bust. Didn't work out the Browns. Didn't work out the Panthers. I know he has a little cup of coffee for a couple of weeks there with the Rams. But 4 teams in 6 years, I mean, not very good. My landing in 20 before I get to my landing spot, sorry. 27.1 million AAV on Spot Track. Once again, that's like a lot lower, honestly, than I thought. People were saying, again, going back to Daniel Jones, if he makes 40 million on average with AAV per year, then Baker Mayfield should make 40 per year with AAV per year. Well, 27.1, I said, this is just me personally. I'm going to throw out some values, my personal value for some guys. I would only pay Baker Mayfield 30 to 32, 33 at most, but 30 to 32 mainly for AAV projection, me personally. But 27.1, honestly, I don't think he's going to take that. I think he might feel disrespected by that. I do fear an overpay here, though, so I think Spot Track's projection is a tick below, but honestly, that's like not realistic, but I would pay him that. Landing spot for Mayfield, this is kind of boring, but back to the Buccaneers. I don't see any scenario where he's not back to the Buccaneers. He fit that system. Yes, I know Dave Canales isn't there as OC as he became head coach of the Panthers, but Liam Cohen, who ran kind of a pro-style offense at Kentucky, he also had Will Levis for a year, so take that with what you will, but Will Levis is now an NFL quarterback, obviously. Now, these are bridge quarterbacks / stopgaps. These are teams that maybe want to trade up for the draft for their quarterback of the future, their quote-unquote franchise quarterback, but they don't have enough ammunition for it, or they just have to jump up way too high for it, or they're just not set up for success quite yet. They're near the end of a rebuild or retool, however you want to look at it. So these guys are just can hold down the fort for 1 year, and they'll have to kind of take a mediocre year. Ryan Tannehill, currently 35 years old. He has a $4.9 million AAV projection on Spot Track. Ryan Tannehill, Ryan Tannehill has fallen off a cliff, man. Ryan Tannehill's fallen off a cliff, guys. He used to be arguably a top 10. I'm not going to go that far, top 5, but arguably probably a top 10 quarterback in the league just 2 or 3 years ago. And when he first got traded to the Titans from the Dolphins, it was like magic right away for him. So he almost beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship in 2020. Derrick Henry obviously was there. They're always a run heavy offense. Landing spot in 4.9 AAV on Spot Track. Let me go back to this before I get to landing spot. 4.9 AAV per million AAV projection on Spot Track. I think that's right around the range. I think we're looking at 4 to 6 million on the high end for Ryan Tannehill, and I think he can just get a team buy for your landing spot for Tannehill. I have the Patriots. It's sounding more and more like they're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. at this point. Like I said, my top 3 picks are all quarterbacks. Right now, I project the Bears to go with Caleb Williams, the Commanders to go with Drake May / Jaden Daniels, and the Patriots to go with Drake May / Jaden Daniels. Probably May to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels to the Patriots. But if they can still sign Tannehill and draft Jaden Daniels, or they can just draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and then take like a mediocre bridge year, if you will, to get Shore Sanders next year, Quinn Ewers or someone like that, Carson Beck looking ahead a year. So yeah, I have Tannehill going to the Patriots for just a bridge year. And then Jacoby is a bridge quarterback. Excuse me. And then Jacoby Brissett, currently 31 years old. If I don't bring up a spot check projection, AV, or anything like that, it's because I don't have one. Landing spot for Brissett, Raiders. I think he is one of the higher end. Sorry, I think he is one of the higher end guys, in terms of like bridge quarterback, something of that ilk, someone like that. I think honestly, this might seem a little high, but I think like 6 to 8 million a year is well within his range. So a team might have to pay up for him. And no one's going to pay a backup that, but like a bridge quarterback landing spot for Brissett, Raiders. And I think you have Jacoby Brissett and Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell battle for the starting quarterback job week 1 next year. Like I said last week with my starting quarterback video predictions, I should say rather, excuse me. I don't think Pierce, emphasizes the quarterback, at least not this year in year 1. I think he must be a run heavy team. I think O-line and D-line are his specialty, and that's it. So he run heavy team, and he emphasizes the trenches. So I think he'll take a bridge quarterback for a year and then go get his guy in year 2 with the Raiders. So I have Brissett. This isn't predictions. Some of them are. But I haven't heard this talked about much, but I really like this fit. And then Gardner Minshew, I was debating between whether he should be in this category or my next category, which we'll talk about in a minute. I'm going to put him here, though, because Gardner Minshew, 27 years old, 5.3 million AAV per projection on Spot Track. I think that's right around his range, 5 to 7 million, just because what he proved this year. He's sneakily athletic, and sneakily, is that even a word? But sneakily mobile. But I don't see the Colts bringing him back. I know it's a nice, steady veteran, although he's still pretty young. How old was he? 27 years old, almost 28, but currently 27 years old. So, yeah. But I have his best landing spot at 5.3 million a year AV production on Spot Check, being the Broncos. I think even if they sign Gardner Minshew, they could draft trading up for Drake May or JJ McCarthy or someone like that. I think they're not going to get Williams, May, or Daniels trade up to the top 3 picks. Like, that's not going to happen because they're at 12 right now. But maybe trade up for a few spots for JJ McCarthy. I don't know. He's picking up a lot of steam lately. But I don't know if they can do that. And Sean Payton, I know, wants to get his guy. He doesn't have a good relationship anymore with Russell Wilson. Honestly, I don't think he ever did in his 1 year with the Broncos, where Wilson and Payton overlap. Next, third category here, high-end backups who can start few in a pinch if needed. I was going to put Minshew here, but I think Minshew can start a full season for a team that's looking for a bridge quarterback, so I put him up there, a tier ahead of this. But high-end backups who can start few in a pinch if needed. Now, these are guys that I'm talking about can start like 2, 3, 4 games at most. Now, listen, former Bills GM Doug Whaley, not very good, right? If you're a Bills fan, you know. Very few hits in the draft. Although I will say he drafted Tre'Davious White. That's good. He got Cordy Glenn, who Brandon Beane flipped for Josh Allen to trade up in that 2018 draft. Whatever. By and large, Doug Whaley was a really bad GM. But the fact of the matter is, he had a quote back in the day that said, "If you lose your starter, can the backup?" This is just me paraphrasing, obviously. If you lose your starter, can the backup get you to 500? So the 500 rule: if your starter misses 2 games, can your backup go 1-1? If your starter misses 4 games, can your backup go 2-2? And that's what this category kind of is. They'll start 2, 3, 4 games, but none more than that, ideally. Tyrod Taylor, currently 34 years old. I didn't know he was this old already, but $3.3 million AAV projection on Spot Track. He's a very accurate quarterback. Yes, he's pretty short for the position, but I think he's 6 foot flat, maybe 5'11", but I think 6 foot flat. And he's going to be the most coveted backup QBs on the market out there, just because of he can really fit any system. He's not a very pro style passer, but he's not the runner he used to be, but he can still make some things happen here and there once in a while on the ground. But Tyrod Taylor, 34 years old, $3.3 million AAV projection at Spot Track. I think that's right around this range, $3 to $5 million at most, $3 to $5 million range for AAV. Me personally, landing spot for Taylor. This is a tie. I don't know. Bills or Ravens? Bills, obviously, because he was there from 2015 to 17. He worked with Sean McDermott for 1 year. Yada yada yada. He was there. But the reason I say this mainly is because I don't like backups who, when they come in, you have to change the whole playbook for them. Obviously, no one's going to come in and be Josh Allen for the Bills. But you want someone to come in and at least kind of run the offense in similar ways. Maybe not as high level as Josh Allen. I mean, like I just said, no one's Josh Allen but Josh Allen. But you don't want to be. That's why I didn't like Kyle Allen, because not athletic at all. Mitchell Trubisky, not athletic at all. You want a guy that's like Josh Allen, athletic, mobile, can kind of take hits, and that's what Tyrod Taylor is. And then Ravens, he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens way back in the day. When did they win that Super Bowl? 2012, I think. Yeah, he was the backup to Joe Flacco, so it kind of makes sense. He's like Lamar as well, and I think he will go to a kind of a team and be a backup for a team that has a mobile quarterback like himself, like Josh Allen with the Bills, or Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, and be their backup. That's why I have them tied, Bills or Ravens. Ideal landing spot for Tyrod Taylor. Tyler Huntley, 26 years old. I don't think I'm like 99.99% sure he's not going back to the Ravens. I might think that bold of me to say. I was kind of like thinking last offseason when Lamar was rumored to be traded to the Falcons, Raiders, all these other teams that kind of talked to him, but everyone passed him. But that's whatever. I was thinking that Tyler Huntley was going to be the week 1 starter for the Ravens last year for sure, all year, barring injury. But it was Lamar and Tyler Huntley at 26. Listen, I used to really like Tyler Huntley, but in that Steelers game, he was kind of awful. He can make some things happen with his leg, but like I say, can he go 500 for you in 2, 3, or 4 games? So landing spot for Huntley, Jets. I mean, my God, the Jets need a better quarterback room overall, like outside of Aaron Rodgers, obviously. I think Zach Wilson's like gone, traded. We'll talk about that later in a little bit. Little teaser there, foreshadowing. So stick around. I don't know though. Like they need to revamp their whole room. Like Zach Wilson, trade him, whatever. Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian. I mean, it was just what musical chairs with quarterbacks, and then you had Zach Wilson basically check out and quit on the team and kind of make it all about himself. Not taking responsibility. Me, blah blah blah. So you need a better situation behind Aaron Rodgers. I think Huntley fits that for the Jets. Next, Easton Stick, 28 years old. Listen, I don't really have much to say here. I don't know how he almost beat the Bills, but he did 2 days before Christmas. I remember it, December 23rd. Landing spot for the Chargers, though. Landing spot for Easton Stick, though, the Chargers. That's where I've been going back to. Mason Rudolph, 28 years old. This was a hard one to find a landing spot for because, Mason Rudolph, the Bills finally showed him, reminded him that, listen, your magic run's over. You're Mason Rudolph. You're built on a great running game with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren and 2 tight end sets and 2 running back sets and screens that look dink and dunk, blah, blah, blah. Landing spot for Rudolph at 28 years old. I have the Seahawks. I don't think Drew Lock is back. If Geno Smith gets cut, they can still sign Rudolph. and draft a quarterback, they have to trade way up or just wait until the second round and get Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. Great values. We will talk about a little later on. So Rudolph, I have going to the Seahawks there. That's kind of a good fit. Like Mike McDonald, the Seahawks with all the weapons they got with Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, uh, Tyler Lockett if they don't cut him or trade him this offseason, which I don't know. Young next fourth out of category. Young quarterbacks who still have upside and potential in the right system. There's two here. Sam Darnold at 26 years old. Landing spot for Darnold, Bills. I don't think he's ready to be a starter yet again. I don't know if he'll ever be a starter yet again. So the Bills, I think, signed Tyrod Taylor as a backup or Sam Darnold as a backup. I mean, Kyle Allen, Josh Allen, and Sam Darnold, they all like live in the same house in the pre-draft process in like, where was it, California before 2018 NFL the draft back then. And they got really close, and now they're all three are like best friends or whatever. Yeah, isn't that good? I want the Bills to take a shot in a day three quarterback late, so that's fourth round, fifth, sixth, seventh. But a day three, bottom line, day three QB. But predictably, I think they'll bring in Tyrod Taylor or a couple $1 million less. Sam Darnold. So I think he'll have to sit for another year and possibly be a starter next year. But I have Darnold going to the Bills for now. Drew Lock, 27 years old. Landing spot for Lock. Giants. He showed against the Eagles. He still got some juice in him, man. He has a really strong arm. He struggles with accuracy at times. He really puts the ball in harm's way. I don't know how to say that. He really puts the ball in dangerous. There you go. He really puts the ball in dangerous spots at times. I'm really not. I don't know. I just have a feeling like the Giants, they need a better backup plan behind Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, cool little, the Tommy Cutlets, the whole Italian vibe, the whole Italian mantra, the Tommy Cutlets mantra, whatever. But is he really like a future backup in this league for years to come? So I think the Giants should sign Drew Lock. Fifth category, quarterbacks. I know, I went really deep here. Fifth category, quarterbacks who can provide a stable veteran presence in the room, but should never start a game for you, barring an emergency. Joe Flacco, 39 years old. Sure. Does Joe Flacco deserve to be in training camp and signed before the season rather than be called up from the couch and not being signed till November after having cereal with his kids every morning? Yeah, but like, he's just a backup or even practice squad QB / third string at most because he's 39 years old. Next, Josh Dobbs, 29 years old. Josh Dobbs had a nice little 2-game bump there. And then after that, Vikings playing musical chairs to quarterbacks after Kirk got injured. Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins. Back to Jaron Hall. Back to Josh Dobbs / Nick Mullins. It was a mess over there, but 29 years old, passionate, whatever. 6.7 million AV production on Patrick. That's kind of a lot for a caliber of him. And he didn't really show good tape last year, so I'm in 2023 season. So I'm gonna ink him down for only like 3 to 4 million a year at most, and that might be generous. Yeah, 3 to 4 million a year at most, and that might be generous. So, I mean, this AV projection Patrick of 6.7 seems like quite a lot. And then Kyle Allen, 27 years old, not athletic, can't really move, not mobile, kind of a noodle arm. I'm saying all this because Bill's backup quarterback. Thank God we didn't have to see him this year, but I don't know. Veteran presence. He basically got there just like Mitchell Trubisky did, just like Sam Darnold probably will, or if Kyle Allen comes back because the good relationship with Josh Allen. And then Trevor Siemian, 32 years old. I don't really know what to say here. And then Matt Barkley, 33 years old. If he doesn't retire, he's a practice squad caliber QB. Great guy to have in the film room and during the week. Next, sixth category. This might sound harsh to some of these guys, but stay away / stay run their chorus. Mitchell Trubisky, 29 years old. If he comes back to Buffalo, he is also one of Josh Allen's very best friends, very close friends with Josh Allen. And then Marcus Mariota, 30 years old. I didn't realize he was 30 already, but somehow he is, apparently. So, Bills fans have said bring in Marcus Mariota is similar to Josh Allen. No. He's run his course. Move on. And then Carson Wentz, 31 years old. Just like retire. There's no really reason for you to even be a backup anymore. I'm still far out on Carson Wentz at this point. I have been for the last like 3 or 4 years. Next, other quarterbacks. that could become available through cuts. I will give Patrick numbers how much they could save. Case Keenum, 36 years old rather. Texans can clear 1.7 million by cutting Keenum. They're definitely going to do that. They're going to either trade Davis Mills or cut Case Keenum because they have CJ Stroud. They don't really need anything else. Taysom Hill, 32 years old, running back slash return specialist slash quarterback slash tight end, Swiss Army knife, whatever. Saints can clear 10 million by cutting Hill with a post June 1st designation. That's a lot. I guarantee you, if he gets cut, Sean Payton will be sniffing around and scoop him up within a day or two, at least within a week. He loves them over there for some reason. And the Broncos, Taylor Heineke, 30 years old. Falcons can clear 6.5 million by cutting Heineke. I say you go with Kirk and a rookie, or a rookie and Ritter, but Desmond Ritter, I don't know. Russell Wilson, 35 years old. So kind of follow me here because this is kind of confusing if you don't know already, but Broncos actually lose money if they cut Wilson before June 1st. But they lose zero money. They don't lose any money if they designated with post June 1st cut. So before June 1st, they lose money. After June 1st, they don't lose anything. They don't save anything, but they lose zero. It's even. Net neutral. However you want to look at it, net neutral, even, whatever. There's been talk. Sean Payton hasn't made a decision yet. Broncos front office, there's been no takers. George Payton said at the combine interviews today that Broncos GM, if you don't know, general manager, that there's been no trade inquiries. Well, yeah, because teams know that you're cutting him. I know the Broncos will say, well, we could go back and patch things up and fix our relationship. You threatened Russell Wilson to bench him if he didn't take his guarantees out of his contract, which he didn't. And then a few weeks later, when you were technically still in playoff contention, you benched him for Jarrett Stidham. There's no fixing that relationship. It's over. Both parties move on. Russell Wilson probably deserves better, but Russell Wilson is aging and declining. In my opinion, he's not nearly effective on the ground as he used to be. I mean, not even close. Broncos offense with Russell Wilson is basically, he takes some weird sacks to he's a real box score guy, like not letting up through air 200 plus yards, but he cares about his accuracy, he cares about his QBR, he cares about his QB rating, all that. He'll take sacks before he throws it out of bounds or throws interceptions. He'll, it's either Russell Wilson scramble around, check it down to a running back, or Russell Wilson scramble around, take a sack. There's no downfield element. There's no downfield to Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. None of that. So I think it's time for both parties to move on. Potential landing spot for Wilson, I think it really comes down to two here. Steelers, Falcons. If you saw, again, going to plug this here real quick. If you saw my starting quarterback predictions for 2024 last week here on Around the Slice, last week's episode, I predicted that Russell Wilson would be a Steelers week 1 starter because I don't think Mike Tomlin's messing around with Kenny Pickett anymore. I don't think he wants to mess around with a guy like Justin Fields, as intriguing as that would be, or a rookie. I think he's getting down on here in Pittsburgh as a coach. If this isn't his last year already in 2024, so I think he wants to ride off in the sunset, at least go deep in the playoffs again, and he wants to get a veteran. He's done messing around. So Steelers or Falcons for Wilson. Jarrett Stidham, 27 years old. Broncos can clear $5 million by cutting Stidham. That's a decent number, but if you're going to cut Russell Wilson, I just put this on here just because it's worth stating and worth saying. But I don't know. If they cut Russell Wilson, which they're inevitably going to do, then Jarrett Stidham could be a good backup to. He's still young himself, but he's been in the league for 4 or 5 years now, so he can mentor the rookie who comes in, or whoever the heck the Broncos get, a quarterback. Jarrett Stidham was once thought of to be the successor, the franchise QB after Tom Brady for the Patriots, and Mac Jones was too, and neither of them worked out. So, yeah. But I don't see them Broncos cutting Wilson and Stidham. My prediction is they cut Wilson. He goes either Steelers or Falcons, preferably Steelers, if you saw last week's episode, and then Stidham stays in the Broncos. Jimmy Garoppolo, 32 years old. The Raiders are definitely cutting him. His guarantees in his contract are gone, and some other numbers are gone because he got suspended 2 games for what was it? Substance abuse, probably PD something. He took these apparently prescribed medications to enhance his play. First of all, you ain't enhancing your play on the bench, bud. buddy. So how did that, you can't really answer play from the bench? Sorry. Um, but apparently it was an accident. Yeah, accident. At some point, when it keeps being accidents, like that one time, Will Fuller got suspended for the same exact thing. 5 games 1 year, and then 6 games in total, 5 to end 1 year, then one the very next year. Will Fuller's totally irrelevant now. Who cares? But he claimed it was an accident too. DeAndre Hopkins that one time as well. How many times can a player say it was an accident before it's just not? They know what they're doing. They know what they're putting in their bodies. I'm sorry, prescribed or not. Like, how about the accident? But 32 years old, Jimmy Garoppolo. I didn't realize he was that old already. Creeping up. Raiders can clear a whopping $24 million by cutting Garoppolo with a key thing here: post June 1st designation. I said a few of these so far. I'll run it down quick for you guys. If you don't know what that means, it's you can save more money. Some players you can cut post June 1st. Each team has 2 of those per offseason. Not every team uses it, but if you want, you have 2 of those per offseason. Now, yes, you can save more by doing a post June 1st cut in the case of Jimmy Garoppolo here and Russell Wilson, a couple others that we've already mentioned. Taysom Hill, blah, blah, blah. What was I saying? Post June 1st, you can cut them after June 1st, but you won't get that savings until June 2nd. So it doesn't count for free agency or March. So Raiders cutting Jimmy Garoppolo, saving $24 million. They won't get that $24 million post June 1st designation until June 2nd. So it's not an immediate thing, basically. 5th-year option decisions must be made or decided on by May 2nd, chosen to pick up or not pick up. Trevor Lawrence, his option costs $34.4 million. That's quite a bit, but for his caliber, I would say that's right around what he deserves, but I wouldn't extend him this offseason as much as it's been talked about. So yes, we're picking up in this scenario Trevor Lawrence's 5th-year option. Zach Wilson, option costs $22.4 million. No, just no. I think it's mentally checked out of the Jets. I think it's time for him to be a change of scenery. And I thought Robert Saleh, head coach of the Jets, and Joe Douglas, GM, general manager of the Jets, both should have been fired for how they handled the whole quarterback situation once Aaron Rodgers went down. Both of them, Robert Saleh especially, has been way too committed to Zach Wilson. There was friction within the locker room. You saw coaches and players, coaches and players, whatever, all fighting on the sideline during Jets games. Not good atmosphere with Zach Wilson there. His option costs $22.4 million. We're not picking it up. We're moving on from that. We're not going anywhere neither. Trey Lance, option costs $22.4 million. Cowboys, no. We're not going anywhere near that, especially if you want to extend Dak Prescott at 30 years old this offseason. I don't know what to think of Trey Lance. I still think he's got potential, man, but I don't know. Like, raw prospect coming out of North Dakota State, NDSU, as they call it over there. North Dakota State really in the 1 year of actionable, like, real experience. So I think teams are emphasizing experience in college over rawness and upside. Justin Fields, his option costs $25.7 million. Now, if they want to trade Justin Fields, which by all indications they will, they'll take Caleb Williams number 1 overall, and Ryan Poles said today at the combine, if we do take a quarterback number 1 overall, we want to do right by Justin Fields, obviously. So they want to make things right and trade him, have a good NFL future, which is good. But if you want to trade him, you're not going to pick up that 25.7 5th-year option because that you lose leverage in that scenario if you had any to begin with, which I don't think you do because teams know you kind of have to trade him when you inevitably take a quarterback number 1 overall. But yeah, I wouldn't pick up that option because teams don't want to be locked in that 5th year for a hard $25.7 million in 2025. Mac Jones, option, same thing as Trevor Lawrence. I don't know how the hell he made a Pro Bowl, but he did. Option cost $34.4 million. That's because, again, 1 Pro Bowl appearance, so they're different on based on how many Pro Bowl you make, play time criterion, basic criteria, whatever. But Mac Jones, we're not picking that up, not even going near that. I think they need to rehaul their whole quarterback room, get Mac Jones out of there, get Bailey Zappi out of there. Lee Cunningham was fun for a preseason. They kept teasing us with him, but he's on the Ravens now. He's a quarterback and receiver hybrid. Other quarterbacks that could become available through trade. Justin Fields, 24 years old now. Bears can clear $3.2 million by trading Fields. It's not about the money, though. Like I said, if your teams know that you have to trade him, so you kind of don't have leverage. But potential landing spots for Fields when he inevitably gets traded, I think he does, predictably. Steelers, Raiders, Falcons. I mean, Justin Fields with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts on the Falcons, and they're just a edge rusher or two away on defense. I mean, linebacker or two as well. Secondary's elite, though. Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell. Holy crap. That would be unreal. Next, Zach Wilson, 24 years old. Jets can clear $5.5 million by trading Wilson. Just, I wouldn't take a chance if I'm a team. I know Bill fans have said, well, what if we bring in Zach Wilson behind Josh Allen? Sean McDermott is a hard coach, and he can... No. I don't think he's worth that $5.4 million he's going to carry. And let's be honest, I'm trying to trash the guy here, but let's be honest. Zach Wilson grew up with a very privileged, wealthy family, very privileged upbringing. His uncle, I want to say, owns JetBlue, still does. So that tells you all you need to know there. And he kind of just, I don't know, he kind of looks spoiled to me. He acts spoiled. Apparently, he was a little reluctant to start again, but then he started. I don't know. Zach Wilson is weird. Like, he's gotten worse every year somehow. Garbage as a rookie, even more garbage his second year, even more garbage and mentally checked out his third year this past year in 2023. Mac Jones, 25 years old, total garbage like Zach Wilson, total garbage play, but Patriots can clear $2.7 million by trading Jones. That doesn't matter. They're going to trade him. Potential landing spots for Jones. Broncos, I think Sean Payton wants to get his own guy, but as a fail-safe, you can have, if you will, you can have Mac Jones. Vikings and Falcons. I don't know. The spot I probably like the most is the Vikings for him. So, yeah. Kenny Pickett, 25 years old. No landing spot. This has been rumored. I don't know. Like, I think Kenny Pickett's kind of upset with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin after 2 years. I think he's ready to move on. Malik Willis, 24 years old. Inactive most games this year. Third string most games this year, whether it was Levis starting and Tannehill's the backup, or Tannehill starting, Levis is backup, fair start of the year, first half of the season. Yeah, I don't know. Malik Willis, if the Bills took a shot at him, I wouldn't mind that. I'll probably only cost, a 5th or 6th round pick at the most. So, Davis Mills, 25 years old. I don't think the Texans will trade Davis Mills and cut Case Keenum for cap savings. My guess is they would trade Davis Mills and have their quarterback room be CJ Stroud and Case Keenum and roll with those two, but who knows? And then Trey Lance, 23 years old. I mean, he's still got potential, but like I said, really raw coming out of North Dakota State. And Sam Howell, 23 years old. Apparently, multiple teams have checked in and are interested in Sam Howell. Well, I mean, let's be honest, the Commanders are going with the quarterback too, whether it is Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Jaden Daniels will probably fit the best with Cliff Kingsbury because Cliff Kingsbury, when he was the head coach of the Cardinals, he was with Kyler, very mobile, very strong arm, deep shot quarterback. So explosives down the field. So I think Jaden Daniels would be a great fit in Washington. But potential landing spots for Howell, I think Jets, like I said, revamp everything behind Aaron Rodgers in the QB room. Broncos, Giants, Saints, Rams, Seahawks. So it's a mix of aging quarterbacks as their starters, kind of groom a younger guy who still has only started 1 year in the NFL. And then Kyle Trask, 25 years old, kind of forgot about him. But if they bring back Baker Mayfield, there was a point in time there for a few months when Tom Brady first retired. Then he came back 2 months later, the eve of free agency. I mean, literally the eve of free agency. But Kyle Trask is going to be the future there, the starter, at least for that year. He's still only 25 years old. Desmond Ridder, 24 years old. I think the Falcons just keep Ridder, though, just in case. Evaluated in 2024 rookie QB class. I'm a huge draft guy, so we're going to go through this real quick. Locked and loaded franchise quarterbacks. Caleb Williams of USC, likely number 1 pick to the Bears. Drake May of UNC, likely number 2 pick to the Commanders. Jaden Daniels of LSU, likely third over Heisman winner, likely third overall pick to the Patriots. Pretty locked and loaded, but those are the only 3 guys that are franchise quarterbacks. Next, might get a little flame for this, but could be a franchise quarterback. Will probably get overdrafted, though, in my opinion. I mean, Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft 2.0, what was it, last week or a couple of weeks ago? I think last week. Can't remember. He had J.J. McCarthy going to the Falcons at 8. People are saying if the Vikings want him, they'll have to trade up a few spots with the Falcons. He won't make it to 11. From Michigan, I'm just not the biggest JJ McCarthy fan. I think he should have returned to school for at least another year and then came out next year. Because next year's quarterback class, yeah, you have Carson back and Quinn Ewers, maybe. Kind of inconsistent. Shore Sanders electrifying at Colorado, playing for his dad, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, all that jazz. All that. But JJ McCarthy's not ready because I'm not going to talk about counting stats where he never really had 200 yards passing. But the fact is, Michigan really never had him do anything special. They had those running backs there, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Once they got to the goal line, handed Blake Corum. Well, there you go. 22 rushing touchdowns this past year. He's only 5'8", but he's pretty squatty though, his build. But we're half there. But back to what I was saying, they never really had JJ McCarthy do anything really special. He was just kind of a game manager, if that. So I'm really not high on JJ McCarthy. I would take him late first round at the earliest, but comfortably like mid to late second round. But whatever. Likely day 2 picks that would be great value picks at that spot. Bo Nix, Oregon, and Michael Penix Jr. of Washington. I think they would be great value in the second round. Quarterbacks that could potentially sneak into day 2 with a strong pre-draft process and be groomed to be a potential starter one day under the right circumstances, at the very least high-end groomable backups. Spencer Rattler of South Carolina and Michael Pratt of Tulane. Day 3 picks worth taking a shot on. Joe Milton, Tennessee. He's weird, not like percent weird, but like it's strange his trajectory. 3 years at Michigan, 3 years at Tennessee, gets injured, replaced by Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker leaves. He starts for Tennessee this year, Joe Milton. He kind of has a weird year, underwhelming year, disappointing. For a guy that spent 6 years in college football, you would say, well, he has a ton of experience. That really is 1 year starting, and that 1 year is pretty disappointing. And then Jordan Travis from FSU. Yeah, he blew out his knee. Yeah, that's probably why they didn't make the college football, although they went undefeated. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole and open that can of worms right now. But Jordan Travis, not going back to it. Jordan Travis and then Carter Bradley of South Alabama. Listen, I got to support my guy here from Notre Dame. Sam Hartman of Notre Dame. If the Bills drafted him, I wouldn't mind that at all. But people are saying he wasn't drafted. If he had come out last year, which he probably should have, coming off Wake Forest, I know he was a grad transfer 6th year, and he's like top 10 all time in college football passing yards. So he has a ton of experience. He started, I believe, 5 of his 6 years in college, 4 years at Wake Forest, 1 at Notre Dame. But he's old. He's going to turn 25 in July. And who wants a 25-year-old rookie? But he is from Notre Dame, so I had to mention him. But yeah. Next, potential big contract extensions. What I was saying was, who wants a 25-year-old rookie? That's the only knock on him. I mean, he's kind of mobile at times, but I don't know. Potential big contract extensions that could be on the way this offseason. Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins, 25 years old, currently scheduled to be a free agent in 2025 because he's on his 5th-year option. Listen, I would let him play out that 5th-year option. I don't know. Like, I say, and the Dolphins, I say internally, like, if we can't get the job done, we'll stick with Tua, at least for a couple of years. But, like, Mike McDaniel, you got to go if you lose in the wild card round again. 3 playoff appearances and 3 wild card losses. I just wouldn't give a mega contract extension to Tua. It's been reported you can get like 50 to 52 a year at minimum 50. Come on. No way. I'm not doing that. It's not just because I'm a Bills fan. Well, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I'm not doing that. And then Trevor Lawrence, 24 years old. We talked about it. Currently scheduled to be a free agent in 2025. I am picking up the $34.4 million 5th-year option in this scenario, but I'm not doing anything past that. I mean, if he has a great bounce back year this year, then yeah, go ahead. By all means, do it. But next year, I mean, by all means, do it. But I'm not doing it right now this offseason. Dak Prescott, 30 years old, currently scheduled to be a free agent in 2025. Now, I'm doing this. I don't care what people say about Dak Prescott. He is one of the most overhated quarterbacks in the entire league. I didn't realize he was 30 already, but apparently he is. And I guess he'll turn 31 in July, which, jeez, I'm 31 already. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird how people hate Dak Prescott so much. And I mean, like, hate. He gets blasted. I don't know why, but he does. But currently scheduled to be a free agent in 2025. I would extend him this offseason and give him a big extension. I'm talking like 45 48 per year, though. Not like 60 per year, like was reported yesterday by Jordan Schultz of Bleacher Report. I mean, what the hell? Who's given 60 million a year? Do you know what that would do for the next 3 years in the NFL? Tua, I want to lose 60. Dak signed 60. Jordan Love, I want to lose 60. Dak signed 60. So, yeah. Speaking of Jordan Love, he's 25 years old, currently scheduled to be a free agent in 2025. If he does this, I would hold off for a year. If he does this again, actually, I'll give him a contract extension this year. All these guys are heading into their last year of their contracts, so their contract year, if you will, next year, I will give Jordan Love a contract. Jared Goff, 29 years old, currently scheduled to be a free agent once again, like all these other guys, in 2025. I would give him a contract extension as well. So to recap, I wouldn't extend Tua this offseason. Wouldn't extend Trevor this offseason, but would pick up the fifth-year option. I would extend Dak, Jordan Love, and Jared Goff. So 3 out of the 5 I'm extending, but don't go overboard like $6 million per year like it was reported Dak would get. Last category here, last kind of topic of discussion, if you will. Teams that could possibly, I'm not saying predicting these teams will definitely need a quarterback, and these teams will have a different quarterback come this time next year, but looking ahead, need a quarterback in 2025, potentially. So looking 1 year at the Dolphins, if Tua disappoints, if they want to clean house, if Mike McDaniel's gone at head coach, if Chris Greer's gone at GM and general manager, GM, he's gone. Whatever, let's say that, and they want to move on. Jets, I'm predicting this will be Aaron Rodgers last year. They're going to move on from Zach Wilson. Lord knows he's sorry, but he's garbage. I don't know what else to say. They need one. Patriots, if they sign Ryan Tannehill and draft Marvin Harrison Jr., that's the only reason why I don't think they trade out. They shouldn't. The only reason I could see them, the only reason I would accept like outside looking in perspective as a Bills fan, if they don't draft Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever falls to them, a quarterback, is drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Steelers, if they get Russell Wilson, it's probably like a 1 year thing, especially if Mike Tomlin retires after the 1 year. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, generational talent, like right up there with Caleb Williams, right up there with Joe Burrow, arguably a better prospect than those guys, not much better, but still better. So if he doesn't pan out, I don't know. If Doug Peterson doesn't pan out, he could be fired. Broncos, they're not going to move on from Sean Payton that quickly, but Sean Payton wants his own guy. Maybe it's Shador Sanders, maybe someone else of that nature. Who knows? Raiders, I think Jacoby Brissett and Aiden O'Connell could hold down the fort and compete for the next year. But in 2025, Antonio Pierce year 2 at the Raiders, so definitely be looking around, sniffing around. Giants, whether it's Daniel Jones, I just have a feeling they're committed to him for some reason. If Dable and Schoen get fired, that's probably a really quick turnaround, but it could happen, and they could cut Daniel Jones and move on. The 4-year deal is really conceivably a 2-year deal. So their Giants are in there. Vikings, if Kirk gets re-signed for 1 or 2 more years, if they can't draft a rookie this year, then, I mean, sure, trading for Mac Jones, but is that really your future starter? So maybe they have Kirk Cousins for 1 or 2 years. Maybe it's like a 2-year deal and they can get out and cut him after 1 year and he retires or something like that. And then Buccaneers, I mean, I would be skeptical of sending Baker Mayfield to more than a 2-year deal. I'll just say that. So they can even Saints, they'll probably get out of the Derek Carr contract, and I think they can after 2024. So that's why they're on here. Falcons, if they sign Kirk, same thing. But they trade for Justin Fields. He's the future, but whatever. Rams, Matthew Stafford. I mean, he said he has no plans to retire soon, but you never know. Things can change fast. Seahawks, same thing with Geno Smith. There's rumors that they might cut him this offseason, so who knows? In a couple weeks, even to save cap. Anyway, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's looking 1 year ahead. That's 14 teams. That's 43. I calculated 43% of the league, 14 teams. That's 43% of the league that can have new quarterbacks in 2025. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not obvious, some of them are complicated, some of them are more straightforward. But anyway, this has been our 2024 offseason quarterback primer. We talked about big time starters, different free agents, backups, down the like little guys in terms of like money, cheapness, and like cost and expensive, all that. And then trades, and then kind of different team scenarios. Be on the lookout for like more of these. We're going to go with running back outlook and wide receiver outlook. A lot of weeks coming up within the next couple of months, especially for agency draft in March and April and so on. May and June, kind of the dead period, but we'll still have episodes. But March and April, look for a lot of weeks. I would say even most weeks even have 2 episodes per week. So just be on the lookout for that, as this podcast is always growing. Next is our running back primer, just like this, kind of formatted in the same way, I want to say. But anyway, one last quick announcement. I kind of have this like passion project I'm working on with like I may or may not be starting a second YouTube channel based on some of my other interests. If you follow me on Twitter, you already know that. If you don't, it is at a wagon at 13. Go check for yourself, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice, and you can watch/listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Free agency, off season, I love it. Team building, I love it. Player movement, I love it. Draft, awesome. Anyways, guys, thank you for checking out today's episode of Around the Slice. We're gonna be real busy over the next couple months, but we're here for it. So, anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Listen today, wherever you're tuning in from. Really appreciate it. Bye.